So it's European semi-final week, and in this video I'm going to look back at our previous 9 European semi-finals. This is over and over and over again. Hello, I'm Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over and over again, another Arsenal channel. As I said in the introduction there, in this video I'm going to look back at our previous 9 European semi-finals, of course, ahead of this week's clash with Villarreal. Just before I get into all that, I just want to make sure that you are subscribing to my channel. If you're new here, you like some different Arsenal content with a generally positive vibe, please click on the subscribe button down in the corner there. It is completely free of charge. It does help the channel to reach a larger audience. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like as well. And also, if you've got any comments at all to make about our previous European semi-finals, the coming game this week, or anything else to do with Arsenal, please drop them in the comments box below, as I do love to hear from you guys as well. So our first European semi-final was back in 1970 against Ajax. That was in the old Fairs Cup, which was one of the predecessors to the current Europa League. Now, Ajax were just about to reach 3 European Cup finals in a row. They were a very good side. The first leg was at Highbury, and Arsenal turned in a superb performance to win 3-0. Goals come from John Samuels and 2 from Charlie George. Of course, this was Charlie George's first season in the first team, young player at that particular time. In the second leg in Amsterdam, a couple of weeks later, we did lose 1-0, but of course it didn't matter. The home leg had seen us through to the final, where we played Anderlecht. Of course, anybody who was around at that time will know that we did beat Anderlecht also 3-0. That was in the second leg at Highbury to win that trophy, our first trophy since 1953, and was of course the prelude to the double a year later. So that was another 10 years in until our next European semi-final. That was in the Cup Winners' Cup, of course, following our FA Cup victory in 1979. In that semi-final, we played at Juventus, of course, the Italian giants. The first leg, again, was at Highbury. This was a brutal game, actually. Juventus had a man sent off, but they did lead 1-0 until a very late own goal from Bettiga gave Arsenal a draw. We wasn't given a lot of chance in the second leg away in Turin. No English side had ever won away at that stadium, and it was 0-0 going into the last few minutes. We were going out on away goals when young substitute Paul Vasson headed in the winning goal to send us through to the final. Unfortunately, our luck ran out there. We played Valencia, of course, in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels. The game finished 0-0 after extra time, and we did lose 5-4 on penalties. Well, it was another 14 years to our next European semi-final. That was again in the Cup Winners' Cup. That was in 1994. This time we met PSG. Now, the first leg this time was away from home in Paris. If you remember, this was a famous night where the 1-0 to the Arsenal chant was invented. We did lead 1-0 at half-time in that game, a goal from Ian Wright. PSG did equalise in the second half with David Ginola, so we had a 1-1 draw to take back to Highbury. The second leg was a great game, actually. An early goal from Kevin Campbell, who was only included in the starting lineup at the last minute when Paul Merson pulled out with illness. And despite a second half bombardment from the Parisians, we did hold on to win 1-0. Of course, that was the night when Ian Wright picked up a yellow card, his second of the tournament, and unfortunately then had to miss the final, of course, in Copenhagen against Parma, where a goal from Alan Smith gave us a 1-0 victory, and that remains our last European trophy. So the following year then, we were back in the semi-final with the Cup Winners' Cup. This time we faced Sampdoria from Italy. We were at home in the first leg again this time. That was a really exciting game. If you remember, we actually was 2-0 up early on. 2 goals from Steve Bold, surprisingly enough. That was after an earlier goal from Tony Adams had been disallowed. Sampdoria came back into it again to make it 2-1. But Ian Wright got the third goal for us in the second half, and that looked to be a decent lead. But Sampdoria got a second goal late on in that game, and it was a very small lead to take over to Italy. Of course, that second leg proved to be another classic encounter, didn't it? We were 1-0 down at half-time. Ian Wright scored again, looked as though he'd put us through, but two late goals from Sampdoria appeared to have sent them into the final. However, again, another late goal in the semi-final. This was a free kick from Stefan Schwartz, went all the way in to take the game into extra time, and of course it went to penalties again. This time David Seaman was a hero. We came out on top 3-2. Unfortunately, in the final in Paris, we lost after extra time to Real Zaragoza with that goal from Naeem, which we don't like to talk about. So 2000, then we were back in the European semi-final. This was in the UEFA Cup, of course, the predecessor to the Europa League. That was after we dropped out of the Champions League group stage. We actually played Lens. The first leg, again, was at Highbury. Again, it was a small lead we had to take away from home. A goal from Dennis Bergkamp in the first half gave us a 1-0 victory. The second leg, though, over in North France, turned out to be a great night for Arsenal. Goals from Thierry Henry and Carnu gave us a 2-1 victory. And of course, the final didn't go too well, did it? Back in Copenhagen, where we'd had great success in 1994. The final finished 0-0 after extra time, and we lost 3-1 on penalties. So 2006, then, our first Champions League semi-final, and of course it was against our opponents this week, Villarreal. The first leg again was at Highbury, and in fact turned out to be the last ever European game under floodlights at the old stadium. A goal from Kolo Touré in the first half proved to be the only goal of the game. So again, it was a very small lead we took over to Spain. That was a famous game, wasn't it? And when in the last minute, Jens Lehmann saved a penalty from Riquelme to send Arsenal into their first and only Champions League final in Paris against Barcelona. Of course, we all know what happened there. A very disappointing and upsetting 2-1 defeat, and I don't think any of us have really recovered from that yet. 3 years later, then we were back in the Champions League semi-final, and it was an all-English encounter, wasn't it, against Manchester United. The first leg at Old Trafford, we did only lose 1-0 to a goal from John O'Shea, although we could easily have lost by quite a few more, but it did give us hope for the second leg. However, this was the Ronaldo game and the Almunia game. Of course, Manchester United won 3-1 at the Emirates to knock us out. Of course, Robin van Persie did score a late goal from the penalty spot, a goal that really didn't make a lot of difference at 3-0 down. So more up to date then, of course, our first Europa League campaign, our first Europa League semi-final came in Arsene Wenger's last season. I think everyone at the club was desperate for us to get into the final and win the competition. We played the favourites, Atletico Madrid. The first leg at the Emirates, really, we should have won this game quite comfortably. We had so many chances. Of course, Atletico were down to 10 men early on in that game. We did finally take the lead with a header from Alexander Lacazette, but unfortunately a mistake at the back from Koscielny allowed the away goal for Atletico. It finished 1-1, and then in the second leg it was our old friend Diego Costa, of course, who scored the only goal. And then, of course, our most recent European semi-final again was in the Europa League in 2019 under Unai Emery. Again, it was against Spanish opposition, Valencia this time. The first leg at the Emirates was a difficult game, actually. We did find ourselves 1-0 down early on, but 2 goals from Alexander Lacazette gave us the lead. And then in the very final seconds of the game, Aubameyang scored a third goal to give us a 2-goal cushion to take over to Spain. We did go 1-0 down in the second leg, if you remember, but it was a hat-trick from Aubameyang and another goal from Lacazette gave us a fantastic 4-2 victory to send us into the final against Chelsea, where, of course, we did lose 4-1 in Baku. So that's our history then in European semi-finals. Of the previous 9 that we've played, we've actually gone through to the final on 7 occasions. So we have got a good record. Over those 9 semi-finals, obviously, we've played 18 games. We've won half of those, 9 wins, 4 draws and 5 defeats. In the home legs, we've won 6, drawn 2 and lost 1. That one home defeat came to Manchester United, as I said, in 2009. In the away legs, we've won 3, drawn 2 and lost 4. And this will be our 3rd semi-final in a row against Spanish opposition, of course, following Atletico Madrid in 2018 and Valencia in 2019. We've only played the away leg first twice out of all our previous semi-finals. That was in 1994 in Paris, where we drew 1-1 before winning the home leg, and then in 2009 away at Manchester United, where we lost that first leg 1-0 before then losing the second leg at home 3-1 as well. So that's our European semi-final history, and not a bad record overall have we got. So let's hope we can continue that this week. It's going to be another tough game. We know that Villarreal are a good side. Stay tuned to the channel because I will be doing a preview of that game going out probably on Tuesday, looking back at our previous meetings against them and other stuff as well. Maybe a focus on their coach as well, because we don't know too much about him, do we? So that's all coming up later on in the week as well. I will be doing a watch along of the game, and I will be looking again at some other stuff in the club's history as well, something I'm going to be spending a lot more time on. I do feel it's a really important part of the club, and it's something that sometimes maybe gets ignored, and also for younger fans, to give you a little bit of a lesson really in what the club's about, where we're from, and some great moments from the past. So please stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button down in the corner there. It is free of charge. It does help the channel to grow and reach a larger audience. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like as well. Please drop your comments in the box as well. What were your memories of some of those semi-finals? Was you at any of them? I've been to quite a few of those games. Really exciting they were, particularly the ones that we won, obviously. So yeah, please drop your comments in the box as well. It is great to hear from you guys. I say stay tuned to the channel. Loads of good stuff coming up as we head towards a big week for Arsenal, isn't it? Probably the biggest week that we've had for quite a long time with this big semi-final, an era-defining game possibly these next two legs, the next two Thursdays. So really big week for Arsenal. Let's hope that we can produce better performances than we have done recently and get through to the final and keep our dreams alive of maybe qualifying for the Champions League next season. Wouldn't that be amazing after the season that we've had? So thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, of course, a really big week, isn't it? Come on, you Gunners!